Embiid, nice defense there on McDaniels, who's looking for a call. Good luck. Simmons tracking it down and somehow providing a finish. Come good soon enough, and sure enough, he did. The fake hit paid off. It's behind the back to Embiid. Joel getting his first bucket of the game. Embiid has already missed a couple of threes. There's Green, hits for a three. Got it. So Danny Green hits the trying to sneak it up there and try to pass Joel's attention. He didn't do it. He gets to go inside center. So perhaps it's kind of like a batter's box a little bit.
And welcome in, everybody. We're live, Half Court Heat, episode 12, special tonight. Sixers post game plus NBA playoff preview, man. Listen, this is going to be all about positivity tonight. I was so excited I got the NFL NBA wrong, right? But that's all good. We just watched our young boys ball out against the Orlando Magic. A lot of great things to talk about. Also, we're going to talk about brackets, the way things played out. I know Andre's got some great wisdom for us as we talk about positivity. But again, welcome in, everybody. We enjoy the interaction. Let's get the comments going. Let's have some fun. Fellas, number one seed, Eastern Conference. We in the playoffs, baby, and it starts right now. How you guys feeling?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited. You know, the number one seed was extremely important to get. The Sixers are rolling, and to end the season on a win, oh, man, come on. What better way to roll into the playoffs on a nice win? And your bench came to ball tonight. B-ball, Paul. We got Maxey just went bananas on people. So, brother, listen, I'm excited. I'm happy. The number one seed, 48-game win season. Come on. And it's a shortened season, 10 less games, and we still won 48 games. So, to me, it's all about positivity.
Oh, 100%. And I know I've been a negative guy in this process. I know, right? We know. And listen, just trying to be a realist, but this is what we all live for, right? The regular season is what it is, but now the fun time starts. And you see, I talked about this before, Al, right before we went live, about you see the Brooklyn highlights, you see the other highlights. Listen, I'm just going to I want to have fun, man. This is going to be an electric playoffs. And Al, you talked about it with the bracket. Break it down for us. What do you think, man? Did we get lucky here with the way this played out?
No. Did we? Oh. I mean, it couldn't have broke any better than it did. We're going to play the winner of New York and Atlanta in the second round. I mean, how could that be bad? So we're waiting for whoever gets beat up after they in their second round, and we're sitting there relaxing, waiting for the winner. How can it be any better than that? I mean, if we had seen Miami, that would have been different. We already had World War II. So 3. So it would have been, you know what that would have been. So to get this, that's gold. That's gold right there. I mean,
hey, listen, listen, there's always a luck factor into this, right? You say what you want, but we could go back every single year for NBA championship runs for the last 20. There's always been a way a team had to finagle through the bracket. And listen, it is what it is, but just to see the way this team has been able to grow, it's been phenomenal. It really is. Kevin checking in says, now the real season begins. In order for the Sixers to win the NBA chip, Joel has to dominate a la Shaq, which I agree. I think we all agree. I believe that's exactly what we said about to witness. Dude is a problem, and more than any other player in the league right now, when he's at his best, he controls both sides of the floor, and nobody can stop him. Again, Kevin, thanks for checking in. Bro, comment, because Andre, I think we've been saying this from day one. This runs through Joel Embiid, and right now, this is going to where he makes his claim for fame.
Yeah, it's crazy because when you think about like the beginning of the season and oh man, we were like, what's happening with Tobias? What's happening with Ben? What's happening with Matisse? He used to shoot the three last year. And now here we are with the most dominant center in the game, the MVP of the league, Joel Embiid. Okay. That hands down, he's the MVP of the league. That's number one. Number two, our Tobias is balling. Okay. Ben Simmons have to come to play. Because there was a time where I was saying, oh, well, who's the X factor? Well, I still think Ben's the X factor. Ben got to come to ball. Ben comes to play. We will be tough to beat. And once again, I'm not concerned about anybody else. Just like Doc Rivers even mentioned, we're not even talking about who we need to play. What is the steps? The number of the steps, no different than like you mentioned. I know it was a slip up, but when you mentioned in the NFL, there's always the steps to it, right? We got to win a division. After we win a division, let's win the conference. After we win the conference, let's get to the championship. Right. And so it's going to be steps. So goal number one, become number one. The first, you got to be first. That's number one. Goal number two, let's get to the second round. Goal number three, let's get to the third round. Think about it, man. You only need 16 more wins for the chip. You won 48. Got one of the best records, home records, and I mean, all the chips are falling exactly where they're supposed to go. Supposed to fall. You got the home record, right? You're one of the best home records in the league, and you got home court advantage. Well, home court. I'm sorry, in the East. Right. You got, but come on, man. What better way to start the playoffs than with a win at the end of the season, and nobody really wants to play you. I don't care about Brooklyn. Nobody wants to play you. No one else has a Joel Embiid.
Nobody.
Period.
That is true.
That's it.
That nobody has Joel, and we talked about this on this show at nauseum about when you talk about leaders and how much of a big step Joel Embiid took this year, and a lot of that I think we all agree has to fall on Dwight Howard. A lot of that has to fall on Doc Rivers. A lot of that has to fall on Sam Cassell, this coaching staff. I don't think we could say enough, and that's what makes me feel good about going into this because. In years past, it was always like, well, are we going to get out coached? It was always like, are we going to get out coached? And Andre, you're right. I slip up with NFL, and that was the big thing about the Eagles with Andy Reid for so many years. It was like, oh man, is Sean Payton going to get him when he was with the Giants? Right? Or is he going to be able to out coach him again? And you're like, oh, come on. But now we don't have to worry about that. I feel very, very comfortable right now because not only do we have a born leader in Doc Rivers, but not only do we have a guy like Stan Cassell, but we have a guy like Dwight Howard who just is 10 months removed from an NBA championship.
Yeah.
Right. So that's huge. You don't always get guys like that. And you watch guys we've all had like Big Shot Bob, right? Robert Horry from team to team would go, right? And make his mark. And Dwight Howard, to me, is one of the most important players on this team for this run because he's going to understand the ups and downs in the playoffs. He's going to understand the pace of the game. He's going to understand the game planning and the fundamentals. And Al, I think that's a big part of this.
Absolutely. I was also thinking while you were saying that about Danny. This is why we got him. For this moment. And before we move on to the playoff version, we had a lot of bitching and moaning and people wanting to strangle the team. But I want to talk about our accomplishments before we move to the playoffs because that's what counts now. But let's settle this regular season. Second best record, home record. Top 10 road record. How many times have we complained about we couldn't win on the road? We had a top 10 road record. The first in the East, division champs, and the third best record in the whole NBA. So let's not forget that. We've been playing very well all season. Now let's move on to the real season. And we got everybody in place that's going to help us do those things. We're totally healthy. We got the pieces. Now we just gotta move the right pieces to do what we need to do in the playoffs.
Yeah, I just want to throw something out there because I was listening to you, Al, and I'm saying in my head, man, we forever talk about the players, right? And I think someone in the comments even mentioned this. Think about this for a second. The pain of Joel Embiid looking at that ball bounce to Kawhi, bounce back, and it went in, right? And think about
why would you mention that? I don't even want to think about that, man.
Well, here's why. Because I was thinking about that, right? And I'm also thinking about how someone like a Doc Rivers felt like he couldn't get it done with Kawhi and Paul George, and he felt like there's a reason why he left the Clippers. But man, listen, this dude, they're on redemption runs, bro. They're literally like they're like out for revenge. They're trying to make sure that they don't repeat the same mistakes they did in the past. So not only the players is on a redemption run, the coach is on a redemption run too. And so we can't talk about this playoff run without talking about Doc Rivers. Like this guy got these guys balling. You got, like you said, there's a reason why we brought in Danny Green. There's a reason why we brought in Seth Curry. It's a reason why we brought in some championship caliber players like a Dwight Howard who has a ring, like a Danny Green who has a ring. Who like Tony said, this dude is still fresh off. He's fresh off his championship. Some guys take a whole year off because they already got the ring.
Right.
This guy is coming to ball, and his energy and enthusiasm is totally spreading across the team, and you can clearly see it. I want Doc to go, I got it done.
Right.
His last championship was in 2008 with the Celtics. He's trying to get another one.
Right.
He's not trying to be mediocre and I'm a coach of the NBA, because Doc is like, I don't want to be forgotten. I have multiple rings.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He didn't have to take this job.
Yeah, but we can talk about the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He didn't have to take this job. He wanted this job. It's a huge difference. He could have sat at home and collect his money. He wanted this job. That is very, very, very important. He could have took any other job or waited a couple years and sat at home and got paid. He wanted this, and it's a reason why he wanted this.
For sure.
Kevin on a roll. Kevin says exactly. Ben just needs to D it up, set them up, and keep the turnovers down. We got shooters, toughness, and a decent bench, but it's all about the big fella and D in the half court. And that's the thing. The one thing I want to make sure that everybody understands is I'm learning, right, as this goes along. But my uncomfortable feeling about Ben is always because I don't want him to become the less aggressive Ben. And I'll tell you, I'm hoping. Now, I went to the game the other night for the clincher game, and I watched Ben take it to the hole numerous times, baby hooks, little jumpers here and there, take it to the rim, dunk with authority. But I'm starting to understand what Doc Rivers says, and I'm starting to see that, like, Al, you mentioned Danny Green, which I wanted to Uber his ass out of here months ago, right? Because I thought he was stealing. And I was like, no way. But the man he's been coming to play. And if Ben can create, and guys like, I'll tell you the other guy, Seth Curry to me has really exceeded my expectations. Honestly, at least over the last 2 to 3 weeks, he's money from the outside. I think he's shooting like 46, 47% over the last 10 games, which is unbelievable. And if he's able to do that, and Danny Green's able to do that, then I understand the way this team is built. I get it now. I understand it, and we just need Ben to facilitate. But he's still going to become a presence in the sense that people are not going to be able to not pay attention to him. So that's very big. But before we move on, our favorite Jenna is back in, says, I'll be here once the Sixers blow a series. Here she comes. Sixers fans act like Danny Green is clutch. Think again. Man, here she comes, man. I love it, though. I love it. Bringing the heat, which we're all about. But I will say, right? But look, Vinny just came back and said, Danny Green going to win a championship 3 years in a row with a different team. Now, that I completely forgot about.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big accomplishment.
No, it's major. And because you threw out the live earlier to Vinny when you mentioned Robert Ory. So
Yeah.
that's not like, listen, Vinny, I would be happy. But I'm getting this feeling, man. I'm getting this championship feeling. Like when we went on that, listen, when we went in 17, when we went on that ride with the Sixers, I mean with the Eagles. See, I did what you did. When we went on that ride with the Eagles, it's the same. It was the same type of energy, and I'm loving this energy right now. But how ironic is everything falling into place too? Like it's exactly 20 years from the last finals. The season is kind of like it ended almost the same way we're about to go into now. Don't get me wrong. 20 years ago, we ran into, I think, in my opinion, three very very tough opponents, and two of the three games went to 7-game series that if I can recall. But I'll tell you this, bro. It's the same energy. We bring in the heat. No pun intended, but we bring in like it got to go. Everything has to go through Philly. You know what I'm saying? Theoretically, we got to come here. They got to stop at Broad Street, get a nasty cheesesteak. I mean, a good cheesesteak. We got to send them. Boy, I said nasty because we got the visitors. We got to send them to the nasty spots.
Yeah.
We got to send them to the. We got to send them to the nasty spots. We're not having any bad pizza stories with Jordan and all them back in the day. So, listen, this is a great feeling, man. You got to stay on a positive high note. The Sixers is the number 1 seed in the East. All roads got to come through Broad Street. Let's get it. Let's go. And let's get it over with and get to the finals. That's how I'm looking at it.
I mean, look, Ross got it right here. We got the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, plus the number 1 seed. Let's go. Play the music, just like Andre tweeted out a couple seconds ago.
Yeah.
Al, listen, it's all coming together, man. And I'll tell you what, maybe, just maybe, I don't know. We were on the show, and remember, we talked about why is Tyrese Maxey not playing? Right? We were like, what's going on? It's got to be something weird. Why isn't he playing? But I'll tell you what, just maybe, and again, they know more than me. I'm not on the bench, right? So I'm not a coach, obviously. And I have to parlay to them and say, you know what? Maybe, just maybe they were building this kid up. Maybe they were like, all right, we see a couple things. Let's coach him up in practice. Let's coach him up and get ready for him because we may need him to contribute in the playoffs because he's a major change of pace guy. And I noticed that, Al. I noticed that when other teams start to go on runs and maybe we're cold, I see Doc call his number because he's such an explosive player, right? And I think maybe that could be his MO, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we talked about it earlier in the season where I was thinking that was part of why we brought George Hill in because the kid wasn't ready. But he seems like he's had Sam Cassell all over him.
Yeah.
This second half of the season, he has changed everything that I was worried about that we couldn't count on, that we couldn't have in the playoffs. He's handing on the rock. He's not looking for a shot first now. He's looking to pass, create, get everybody involved, plus get his shot, be very, very explosive to the basket. I mean, he's throwing by people and laying it up before a person even can get to try to block his shot. I mean, I'm seeing him going over 7-footers like it's nothing. Every game, I see improvement from the kid, and I can't say anybody else has their hands on him but Sam Cassell. I mean, if it's somebody else, I don't know, but I'm seeing Sam Cassell on him right now.
We almost went a whole minute.
We were doing good.
I was thinking that he couldn't. There's no way he would be in a rotation. But you might have to use him in a change of pace. Maybe it's not, the offense isn't going smoothly, so you give us a little jump. And you use him where I wasn't thinking you were even going to think about doing something like that earlier in the season. So, I mean, I think you got to get him and squeeze him in. I think you have to.
Yeah, I agree. And Andre, maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but Al, you bring up a good point about Sam Cassell because we talk about how he's been working with these guards. Sam Cassell played with a nasty guy named Vernon Maxwell at one time, who was who was a really high flying power guy. So Maxey, listen, he's not going to have the grit like a Vernon Maxwell, but he could be that energy guy that you could squeeze that maybe 6 to 8 minutes out of in a playoff game. Do you think that, Andre?
Yeah, because here's the thing: you got to keep in mind too. And to Al's point, sometimes I look at some of these NBA teams and I look at their coaching staff. Like we have a coaching staff full of ex guards.
Yes.
So you kind of think about like some of the guys, we talk about developmental players. Now, remember, in the beginning of the season, we were talking about Maxey for the rookie of the year. This dude came out smoking. We were high on Maxey. And if I can recall a certain comment, there's one thing you love about me. I don't remember. I definitely remember when people make a comment and you said, Dre, what do we get with Maxey? I said, you're about to see. You're getting somebody that's explosive. Somebody that's just going to take it to the basket.
Right
and
on
think
point.
about it. He's the only rookie this year with multiple 35-5 games. 35-5 games. The only rookie this year. So when he is in the game for a significant amount of time and he gets in a rhythm, he is hard to stop. The guy a lot of college players come into the NBA and they don't know the speed. They can't get with the rhythm. They don't know the game. This guy is faster than the NBA game right now.
Yes.
So when he's in a little, so I just think that what the coaches the coaching staff on the Sixers are doing is telling them, listen, don't lose your quickness, but add this to your game, add that to your game. Because that's what's going to separate you from the rest of the guards in the league.
Right.
This dude is like stupid fast. Like I was watching, and I think you were alluding to one of the plays tonight when the guy tried to block his shot and he already blew by him. He tried to steal the ball from him.
It was
already
over
blew by him. He blew by him and he dunked it with 2 hands. So in my head, I'm going, man, this guy is really fast. Like elusive fast too. I mean, think about it. 30 points, 5-5. And he doesn't play that many minutes.
Right.
So when he's in the game, he's a problem. He's a defensive problem. And this is the Maxey we saw the first 5 games of the season. The Maxey we saw tonight was the Maxey we saw in the first 5 to 7 games in the beginning of the season to start the season. So it's not even a surprise to me. It's not a surprise. What is a surprise, and I'm going to be honest, players from 6 to 11, man, was we on a roller coaster with them all season?
Wow.
We were on a roller coaster. We're like, yo, the bench is giving up big leads. We're doing this. We're doing it. Like, it was frustrating. Man, we watched these boys put away an Orlando team. Put them away. Like, they not only, now don't get me wrong. We all know where Orlando is going tomorrow. They're going to the locker room, and they got about 4 hours to clean out their lockers. And they'll be watching the playoffs just like we will. So at the end of the day, they were happy to be in Philly for a second. They're like, wait a second, it's 70-something degrees today. It's beautiful Sunday. They all ran up the Rocky Steps probably. So to me, it's like if I'm an Orlando Magic player, I'm like, all right, I got paid tonight. So and they off back into Florida. So man, listen, nobody really wants to see the Sixers at all. And that includes Brooklyn. And we're about to see Milwaukee get exposed. And like I've been saying for the last 7-8 weeks, we're about to watch them get exposed. And
that happens, somebody's getting fired. Somebody's getting fired if they get if they get knocked out by Miami knocks them off. Somebody's getting fired.
And Middleton's going to want to go to the West Coast probably. And if Boston, the way I looked at it was, if when we see Boston, Jason Tatum's going to be like auditioning to be a Sixer. I look at it. He's going to be auditioning, man. That's the play. Hey, listen, that play-in tournament, not a big fan of it, but it is what it is. But we're going to see who's going to bring the heat, who's not. Like, just make it happen.
It's going to be interesting, man. It is, and I pulled this up because you alluded to that Milwaukee Miami matchup. I mean, listen, I know that's the seed, and we're talking about playing tournament right now, but look at these 4 games, right, for this playing tournament. You have Memphis, San Antonio, you have Indianapolis, Indiana, Charlotte, you have Boston, Washington, and then you have. Which I'll be honest, Al, the one that intrigues me the most is LA Lakers, Golden State Warriors matchup. What are you thinking here, man?
I'm thinking they lock Steph down.
Yeah, they have to. They have no choice.
They lock Steph down, and they don't even they worry about more defense than offense because once you slow Steph down, it's a wrap. Now, I heard something earlier on NBA TV, something about if somebody loses, then they get out of that play-in tournament spot. Somebody loses, they come up to a regular spot and come out of the play-in spot. Is that true? Do you guys hear that?
I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of different formalities with this playing tournament that starts on the 18th. I haven't, I broke it down a little bit, and I know there's a lot more rules to it. And I'm not honestly I was so focused on the Sixers. I just worry about us getting our number 1 seed. I haven't broken this down per se, but I do think that there is something along that lines that could happen because there's games going on right now.
I think I heard something about Denver. Like maybe if Denver beats Portland, then we get the winner of 7 versus 8. It's a 7. No, I get that part, but I'm saying like I think if Denver beats Portland, then we can then Portland if the Blazers.
There you go.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. Good point, Ross. Yeah, that's what I thought. So man, then that changes everything. So now you got the Lakers don't have to worry about the play-in. So that changes everything. But I would like the Lakers Golden State. I would be lying if I didn't say I would like that to watch those late night games at 10:30. Stay up and watching those battles and stuff going crazy. I would love to see that.
Who wouldn't, man? Who wouldn't? Yeah. I'll tell you, if you just look at the right a little bit. All right, I'm not really listen. Indiana and Charlotte really it doesn't impress me, but I'll tell you what. To watch our man Russ out there in Washington, well, what he's been doing this year, and now, like Andre said, now you go 1-on-1. You and Jason Tatum going back and forth. You got, they're going to swing a little bit in that game, man. I'm looking forward to that. I'll tell you that, Andre.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because here's the thing, man. You never know. When there's a player like for instance, in the bubble of 2020 in the summer, you had Portland playing Memphis, right? You had Portland. You had Portland playing Memphis. I mean, I know that was the summer, but that was the restart in Orlando. So when Portland played Memphis, it made the end of the regular season just a little more exciting because they both earned a spot in the playoffs when they wouldn't have had a spot. So in my head, I'm going, you know what? It does make it a little more exciting. Yeah, are you going against tradition? Whereas obviously 1 through 8, of course you are. But this is not regular times. You're in a 72 game season where we're at the hopefully towards the end of a pandemic. You got all kind of scheduling issues and conflicts with marketing and media and advertisers, and you got stadiums that's lost tons of money. You got to come up with crazy and innovative ways to bring it all back and connect the fans with the game. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, but I understand why they're doing it. So yeah, you got those matchups that are ready to go, and you never know how it's going to end. And think about it for a second too. You have teams who would be home right now.
Yes.
That has an opportunity to play. So they're like, oh, well, we got a shot.
Right.
Because typically they'll be home. They're like, oh, we got a shot. And then once again, it's like in football, it's any given Sunday. Any given night, something crazy can happen, and now you got a number 9 seed like making noise in the playoffs.
You're right. You're right. And let's I gotta really because I'm looking at this and again, this just come to my head. And I want to throw this out there. I want to see what you guys think about this because listen, for our money, for us in Philly, for the Sixers love, we know who our MVP is, right? It's Joel Embiid. But we also know how the writers think, and we also know how the skeptic with the injuries, not enough games played. Let me ask you guys something. Just, throw the Joel Embiid thing out of there for a second, looking in this playoff tournament. And I'm looking at two guys, and one guy that isn't talked about enough. Now, we know about the MVP, obviously, what that means to his team. And two guys, we've already talked about Steph Curry. And I'm thinking, is there a chance that Russell Westbrook could throw his name into that MVP hunt on top if he gets into this play-in tournament and they make some noise? It's crazy, but say they make some noise against Brooklyn, right? And even if they don't win that series, what he's been able to do you think he gets that MVP consideration?
Nah.
You wouldn't take
not at all.
Out.
Nah, no shot. They're still underneath.
It's my response.
What's that?
They're still underneath 500.
I get it. Right.
You're talking. Well, when we talk you're talking MVP. I would say no for one major reason. And now obviously most MVPs in the way is done is usually from a team that's actually winning, right?
Right.
That's how it usually is. But Russell is a major problem in the NBA. Like this guy is a competitor like you wouldn't believe. And as far as even if he made noise, the reason why I'm just going to say no. I'm going to say no because Shaq did the same thing and he didn't win MVP. When the 2 years that he claimed that he should have won MVP, and I don't know, brother. I would say no. Only because it's Russ, and it only is because it's Washington. They don't get a lot of media hype. They don't get a lot of Think about it. Russell Westbrook had way more media attention when he was in OKC. I'm talking about before he switched to two teams and all that other stuff. But and so that was like it feels like it was eons ago.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's still doing the exact same thing or better. Now, the guy's gotten better. He hasn't gotten worse. He's gotten better. I
just, here's the way I look at it. And I get it. I understand completely that you're looking at a team that's below 500, right? And I understand that, but I think sometimes people are looking too much at the stats and not at the player. And the reason why I say that is if you turn on a Washington game, you're talking about most valuable player, who means the most to their team. And the way that Russell has been able to get guys involved on a Washington Wizard team that nobody gave a shot to win anything at all, let alone, and I get the only reason why they're there, it's a play-in tournament and they could get, but at the end of the day, what he's been able to do, what Steph Curry's been able to do with such a young team with less, okay, in Washington, in my opinion, and like you said, Andre, no media attention, right? You don't get the national televised games with Washington. You don't get any of that. It's all about Steph gets that. But if you look at it, Russ has been kind of doing the same thing as Steph. So I'm not saying he should be MVP. What I'm saying is he damn sure needs to be considerate. He needs to get some consideration. And I don't think it's right if he gets no consideration whatsoever.
No, I think, two things. One, I agree with you. I don't think it's right if he doesn't get any consideration because what he's been doing the last month and a half has been just the guy is crazy, right?
It's nuts.
So, yeah, he's out of bounds. This dude is incredible. But to your point, the only way your point really makes sense if Bradley Beal wasn't on the team. See, because you have a Beal, a player, right? If you have a player like Bradley on a team, it's tough to say that he's the MVP because if Bradley Beal wasn't on the team and they're 34 and 38 and he's just crushing everybody with triple doubles and all these things. Oh man, I think it'd be close to a no-brainer But because Bradley's on the team, it's almost like Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum when they're both clicking. Dame Lillard could be in the Dame could be in the conversation just as well as anybody, right? But because CJ McCollum is a very close second, it's tough to make that guy the MVP. There is no close second on the Sixers when it comes to Joel.
Right.
There is no close second. There is no close second when you're talking about Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's not here.
Right.
So there is no close seconds on Milwaukee when Giannis won it twice in 2 years in a row. That's the point I'm saying. Like, your point is majorly valid if there wasn't a Bradley Beal on the team.
It's a good point. No, it's a good point. And you bring up about Steph, and yes, I'm a huge Steph for MVP guy, only because I've had mentioned, and we've all mentioned about what he's been able to do to get these young guys to be able to play, without a star like Klay. The Splash Brothers are not valid this year. Draymond Green has brought in and been a different kind of player, and Steph has just done remarkable things. And I think he has more opportunity to make noise in that tournament and in these seedings than obviously Washington does. I just don't think, because I've hated on Russ for a long time, not as a player, but I just don't like his persona. I never thought about him as being a team guy. I thought he was always a me guy, but I'll tell you what, he's changed my mind a little bit, because I've heard his press conferences, I've heard what he's been saying to players, and I see how he's been coaching on the bench when he's not in the game and when he's been able to do on the court, and it's kind of been a revelation to me. And and I'm looking at it saying, wow, man, I don't think we'll ever see this again. All right. And we talk about things like that all the time, that you're never going to see a guy to be able to do this kind of damage before, right? We're never going to see another Steph Curry. We're just not. And I don't think we're ever going to see a season like Russell Westbrook has had right now. And you know what, Al? Let's just say hopefully we never see another season like Joel Embiid is having right now, right? So hopefully that continues on to the playoffs. But I just thought it was an interesting point, because there is a ton of talent. I think somebody mentioned it. It might have been maybe it was Vinny right here. Vinny, no way Russ wins every. Too many deserving players to give it to a guy who's not a lock to make the playoffs. It's a great point. I get it. One thing though I will say is I'm so excited that we had, and we talked about this, we have so much NBA talent right now. I think I remember it could have been maybe as little as 2 years ago. I know I personally said, I feel like the league is getting watered down. I felt like it wasn't like, but all of a sudden, the injection of these primetime youth players, man, I don't think we've ever seen it at this point before. What do you think?
Yeah, I was watching Ja before the show came on. I mean, you got Steph. I mean, every city has that one guy that you're like, wow, I want to see what he's going to do tonight. Or the TNC's got a game on and they're featuring Zion, or ESPN is doing something. And you want to just name whoever. I mean, it's every team has at least now one player that even New York, the Knicks, you're trying to see if Julius Randle is still, it's the end of the season now, but as the season been going on, you're like, dang, he's playing well. Let's see if that continues. And he has all season long. He's played. He is balled. And I'm like, the Knicks are in the playoff. Knicks are in the playoffs, not the play-in, the playoffs. So, I mean, that if it wasn't for Julius Randle, they wouldn't even be sniffing the playoffs right now. So, yes, great point on that the Stars have each city.
That's number 2.
Yeah. Let's go for the three-peat tonight.
Let's go for the trifecta.
Oh, man. Here he comes.
I know that Nick
back off the freeze.
But
go ahead, Andre.
No, I was just looking. Like, some of these matchups is incredible, man. Like that in New York, I'm intrigued by a few matchups. One of them is definitely that Atlanta New York matchup
Yep.
because same record. Both have at least a star and a half, 2 stars if you want to keep Derrick Rose up there. But what's interesting is that, man, you got the Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. Like that's like old school. Like that, like it just remind me of the '90 Knicks and the '90 Atlanta Hawks going at it. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
And like it just I'm loving these, like some of these matchups are like historic matchups, like the Lakers Golden State matchup. Like you realize the winner of that series plays Phoenix
Yo.
at 51-21, and then Utah is just waiting. Like they're just waiting for the winner of Memphis and San. Oh, and once again, these are teams that will play those number 1 and number 2 seeds, and it's going to feel like any given Sunday type of tournament. You never know. That's what I'm saying. Like these are not slouched. Some of these teams are not slouched teams. They just had, bad scheduling or travel crazy where they just lost a few games here and there. Because the Knicks, I just think that the Knicks, Milwaukee, and on the Knicks in Milwaukee on the East, and in the West, I think the Clippers and Denver are all mixed in that same type of team. I mean, I just think they're not as good as their record says, but but you really don't want to play them either. You don't want to you don't want to play these guys that Miami Milwaukee matchup. I'm loving that, man. I'm loving because Miami are tough. They're just a bunch of tough guys that's going to bully you around they bullied our guys around that day. And I was like, that was upsetting to me, losing to Miami. I was like, man, I was pissed.
Not so much.
No, I was upset because that was a game that it felt like we weren't even like trying to match their intensity. It's like they just came and like beat us up in a game and went home and sent us home like that. I don't like games like that. Like I want you to come and be competitive, punch them back in the mouth. Like if they punch you in the mouth, go right back at them, however you got to do it, and come out with a W. I mean, this is Philadelphia, bro. This is like we're not playing that.
I get that. I just think that I tweeted that out. I wouldn't even have. That game was irrelevant to me. And you had nothing to prove to beat Miami in that game. I wouldn't even have played my starters. You flew Joel from Philly to Miami to play that game while he's sick. What did that prove? Why even force that issue? Don't even play your starters. Come back and win the game that we won and clinch. That's what I was thinking. He didn't go that route. I wouldn't have went that route myself. But I'm not the coach of the Sixers. He is, and he chose to go that route.
That was an interesting game, right? I mean, he called the dogs off early. I think he's seen what was going on, and I was more upset with the way they came out to start the game than them actually losing the game, because I think that game obviously was won in the first half. Right. So, and I looked at that and I think Doc's seen that. And that's why, the starters didn't play more than like 20. I think Tobias had the most minutes in that game out of the starters. I think he's seen what was going on. But, one thing I will say to get back, because I love what Andre was talking about because I looked at that Atlanta Knicks series right off the bat. And I was looking at that and I was like, man, like I'm looking at that because we've seen this Knicks team grow under Tibbs. And then you see what happens in Atlanta when Nate McMillan takes over and Nate, there's a veteran coach. Let's not forget what he did in Indiana, right? We know what he can do. And he's got those boys balling. And they're going to look at a matchup with Julius Randle against Clint Capella. You're going to look at Trae Young going one-on-one against RJ Barrett. You're going to watch guys like, role players. You got John Collins playing in Atlanta. He's not a role player, but like a Kevin Huerter and going against Emmanuel Quickly. There's so many different elements to that series that I'm going to be excited to watch. And Al, you're right with Miami and Milwaukee. Let them beat the hell out of each other, right? Right? I mean, just we talked about that before. Let these teams beat each other up before they get to us, right? I mean, that's what we want to see, and I think that's what's going to happen in that series.
Well, even more important, and Al, I'm sorry to cut you off, brother, but even because we're talking about beating each other up, Brooklyn got to see that the winner of that Boston-Washington game.
Yes.
And you think if you in the Brooklyn thing, either one of those teams is coming in sweet. Nah, man, they're coming in, and they're both of those teams are physical. So it's one thing that Brooklyn is not. Brooklyn's not physical at all. They're finesse. They're finesse. Physically, they're not physical. They're finesse and they're fast and they execute. And I'm gonna tell you something. And I don't think they execute well on the defensive end. You got Joe Harris. In my opinion. I know we talk about the big three, but Joe Harris is the X factor in my opinion. But when Boston or Washington come to play, you better put your boxing gloves on. Because both those teams are physical.
Oh, absolutely. You got a guy like Marcus Smart going to be all up in your grill all series long, right? And the thing that sucks about Boston is they lose Jaylen Brown. So you know, that hurts, right? That hurts. And now you know, Kemba Walker. It's going to be interesting because he has the chronic knee condition. Can he play every single game? So they do have some limitations, but I think it's a great point. I can't wait to see if Boston wins. I want to see Marcus Smart go up against Brooklyn. I'm a big Marcus Smart guy. Get it, Al.
I think Washington playing Brooklyn. You trying to tell me you don't think Russ is like, yo, Bradley, let's go. You know, they would love to shock the world. They would love it. And Russ is going to rub it in their face. And they catch 2-3 games and Russ going to rub it all in their face. I can imagine if it goes 7 games. Oh, my goodness. That would just make my whole year if they just shock the world and knock Brooklyn off. I can't see them beating Boston because I can't see Boston beating them because they just don't have enough firepower. You just got to concentrate on Tatum and then a little bit of Kemba and then that's it. But I want to see Washington and Brooklyn. I don't want to even talk about Boston playing the Brooklyn. That would just probably be a sweep.
And think about, like we just talked about earlier, about the injection of talent in this series. Think about, like you just said, just if Washington beats Boston and they go up against Brooklyn, think about the talent we get to see in that series. KD, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook. I mean, my God. Like, I mean, can you get any more? If you can't get up and excite, obviously we're a Sixers fan base, but if you can't get up to watch a series like that, you're not an NBA fan at all.
Not even close.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is. That is going to, and I know Russ checking in says, feels like yesterday I was just saying, Dan, they need to make these guys stay in college at least 2 years, but now you're right. There's so much talent everywhere. And here's a funny story, Andre. So I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my ticket guy. We're talking. He's like, well, you know, for next season, what teams you're really looking to play? I said, I don't even care. And what do you mean? I was like, I'm a fan of the NBA. There's a player, just like you said, on every team that I could say, man, I want to see him play. Man, I want to see him play. It's not no more. Got to have that Golden State game. Doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter. You've got anybody, man.
Yeah.
It's
Remember
great.
you had to pick and choose? You had to, I don't want those teams. I want this team. You don't have to do that anymore.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's great. It's great. And again, I think we're going even into the future, man. You see, this is a great product, a great global product that we're going to enjoy for many years to come.
Oh, yeah. And it's getting more and more international, and that's what's incredible. I mean, just think about it. You got 3 Antetokounmpo brothers in the league. You got some Chinese players. You got players from Croatia, players from Canada, players from almost every continent on the planet. And Adam Silver is doing a phenomenal job just keeping the game itself, keeping the game itself on the radar of small countries and other countries. Like, I mean, for God's sake, you got J. Cole playing in Ghana
Yes.
in a professional league. And if you don't think
Yes.
those cultures is crossing, because it's a simple basketball. I mean, it's culture, period. And what is culture? It's sports, entertainment, fashion, you know what I mean? Art, the arts. And they're all clashing at the right time. So what better time can Adam Silver have to take advantage of everything that's going on culturally and socially and just bringing it into the NBA? I mean, like, just think about that for a second. You had like Master P playing professional basketball. And now you got J. Cole, one of the greatest rappers that's just out, period. I mean, the guy is just ridiculous. He's upper echelon in hip hop. And he's playing professionally in Ghana and scoring his first professional basket. So, man, you talk about just getting from a global perspective. It's like everybody is the brand of basketball and the game itself is just huge. It's huge. Clearly, here in the United States, the Shield is the biggest sport, right? And I think that, and truthfully, I think it's just based on because a lot of the stadiums are bigger. Sometimes it's just numbers; they don't lie. I mean, you got like right here in Philly, you got Lincoln Financial hold 50 plus, Wells Fargo a little over 20. Imagine if some of these. Imagine, I guarantee you could sell out a Lakers game in a 52,000 seat arena. A Sixers game in a 52,000 seat arena. You know,
crazy.
So I mean, listen, they're doing a great job. The NBA is doing an incredible job, and just like bridging all these cultures together. Because you mentioned globally, internationally. Man, it's just phenomenal. It's a beautiful sport, and what do sports do? It brings people together.
So,
and on that quick note, real quick, Tony, I was listening to Sonny Hill this morning, the great Sonny Hill, and he mentioned the great lost train of thought. Stern, what's his first name?
David
Stern, rest in peace. He put this in motion for it to be what it is now. The global basketball all over the world, any state, any country, he did this. He put this in motion. So we gotta pay homage to him, to setting this in motion to being what it is. It's a gold mine. Nobody was thinking that the NBA was going to spread out like this. He did that. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that when I heard the great Sonny Hill talking about that this morning.
That's a good point because, listen, you're only as good as your brand ambassadors. And David Stern doesn't get enough credit about where he got this product to be. And now David Silver just continuing not only build, but make it even that much better, which again, that's why we're in a position we are in, like Andre was saying, with these multi-generational talents that are coming from overseas and everywhere. It's just unbelievable. So we got about 8 minutes left because we always go about an hour. So I want to get to one thing first before we talk about Sixers opponents. These are some really good stats right here. And again, this is amazing to me. Now, we talked about Seth Curry earlier, and I was wrong from the low standpoint. Over the last 7 games, not only is he shooting 61% from the perimeter, but he's shooting 62% from 3. I mean, this guy has been unbelievable. And here's one that really blows my mind. Players that average 28 points and 10 rebounds while shooting at least 50% from the field and 85% from the free throw line. Only 2. Joel Embiid and Larry Bird, right? Yep. So that's courtesy of Sixer Stats, at Sixer Stats on Twitter. Unbelievable. I mean, just you don't even have to say anything more, right? It's unbelievable.
Major.
That's unreal. It is. It's unreal. Now, our good buddy Adam checking in. So let's do this. Number one, 2-part question. Who do you want the Sixers to play? And number 2, he has, what team did the Sixers match up best against in your opinion? So, Al, I'm going to go to you first. What do you got?
Well, I mean, the easy answer is Charlotte. I mean, I would love to just see them, and then you know what it would be. You know, Indiana's going to put up a fight, 100%. They're not just going to lay down. Charlotte is just too young and inexperienced to give us any type of anything. So I have nothing there as far as them. And then what did you say the next question was?
Well, it was basically, who do you want the Sixers to play, and then who do they match up best against?
Mm-hmm. That's the second part I would have to think about. That second part I got to think about. But I know obviously easy or would be the Hornets. I would love that. I mean, talk about laying out the red carpet. The Hornets. Then we got the winner of Atlanta Knicks. Like, besides everything else that we need to happen, I mean, how much more perfectly than everything just laid out for you if we get those type of scenarios? Like, you can't ask for anything. Now, I wanted to make sure I put in there just one quick thing: COVID issues, injuries, and luck is going to get us to the finals. We got to stay away from all 3 of those things.
Yes.
Well, except for the luck part, because it can happen. Mm-hmm. One COVID issue, and we got a serious problem. And then injury, a twisted ankle could put somebody out for 3 games. So we got to, everything's got to, as you boys know, everything has to fall in.
I completely agree.
And it happens.
I completely agree. It's a great point. So what that means is, I hope the Sixers players are listening to us right now. Listen, we all know about injuries, unavoidable. We know all about that, but let's do ourselves a favor. Let's relax. We can make it rain all day long in July. Okay, let's just 2 months, right? For the next month, let's be some good soldiers. Let's relax, right? Just stay in our hotel rooms or do what we gotta do, and let's get this ship so we can go parade. And then we can throw them dollar bills out there all day long, man.
Anything you want to do.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man. So Andre, what do you got, man?
Real. Well, let me be very clear. I just said I said it from day one. For me, it's going to be finals or bust. But to answer my man's question, I agree. I agree with Al. I'd rather them Charlotte, young, inexperienced team, keep us focused, keep the energy going, beat them, sweep them, if necessary, do what we need to do, get those guys out of here. So Charlotte, like, for one, I think Charlotte's going to beat Indiana to begin with. Right? No, he ain't lying.
Ain't that the truth, man? Stay away. Right. Yeah. Stay away.
It's going to be like, so he ain't lying though. So Charlotte, and truthfully, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I think the Sixers matchup, as far as matchup, I don't think they match up with anybody until the finals. Because the best team that they actually match up against is in the West. Because the Sixers aren't built. Because what did I say from the beginning? From week 1, I said, listen, here's the deal. A healthy Sixers team. No injuries, no issues, no COVID issues, none of those things. A healthy Sixers team is one of the most deadliest, hardest teams to beat, period. Because the way they're built and constructed. Now, who they match up with, the best team that they actually match up with is in the West. And that's with the Lakers because they have AD. They don't listen, don't get me wrong. The Joker and all that is good and I get it, but he's not Joel Embiid. He's just not Joel Embiid. AD can play the 4 or the 5. He's athletic. He has almost any shot that you can name. He has. Where Joel has the advantage is Joel, in my opinion, plays better defense.
Right.
And Joel, and I've seen this year, which I haven't seen in the last couple of years, Joel is running the floor.
Yes.
He's getting back on defense like with a purpose. And that's the Joel Embiid that the league is afraid of. So, Charlotte, to answer the question, the first part, and they don't match up with anybody good in the East. That's why they're the number 1 seed. No one really can match up with them. Is until they get to the finals, and that's where we're going to see the best matchup.
I agree with both of you guys. Honestly, I don't think there's any way to look at it. And you make a great point about Charlotte because, listen, say what we want about Indiana, but I don't want Joel to have to work in the first round. You know what I'm saying? So, and Sabonis, don't sleep on Sabonis, man. He's got some skill and he's tough. Right? Yeah. I'd much rather be playing up against PJ Watson and Cody Zeller than playing up against Sabonis, okay? So Exactly. Give me Malik Monk all day long. Okay, I want nothing to do with that Indiana team. Nothing.
Is Larry Bird still coaching Indiana?
Yeah. Man, those were the days, man. Isn't that the truth? Well, our Vinny got a good point here. He said one guy we haven't talked about all season is Dave Jager coming in for the Grindhouse in Memphis. I think he's hoped Joel, Ben, and Toby. Listen, Vinny, you're absolutely right. And just as a staff as a whole, like we said in the beginning of the episode, it's completely different from last year. Completely different. And this staff that they have, we talked about it. A couple of these guys could be head coaches right now in the NBA. So you don't only have Doc and his experience, you have a lot of wisdom and a lot of power when it comes to the bench with these coaches. Ross says, like Shaq said, Joel should be the MVP over Joker because of defense, and he does it on both ends. Yeah, listen, I mean,
the floor.
100%. 100%. I mean, Andre, you brought it up. I mean, the guy, he came this year in phenomenal shape. He finally did it. He did what we all wanted him to do. He scares the hell out of us when he falls all the time, right? Yeah. And it's like, Joe, please, you're killing me. Like, I know you like to flop, but you're my heart goes in my throat every time I see you fall down. So, but what he's been able to do, you just heard that stat. I mean, Larry Bird, to know that you're only one of 2 guys in NBA history to be able to do that, it just shows you how special you are. And boys, I think we're in for a wild ride, man. Yeah. The month of May and the month of June is going to be fun. It really is.
Let's go.
I know, man. I know. Right? No more of this talk about who's resting, who's not playing. We're done with all that. Now it starts. Now the real playoffs start, the real games start, and it's going to be fun. And for everybody that continues to watch and check in, we really appreciate it. And keep it locked in here, half court every Sunday. We got playoffs to talk about. You know, we may show up on post games after some of the Sixers games. We'll see about that. But it's good. Everybody just get ready, man. Let's 2017 was so much fun for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? 2008 was so much fun for the Philadelphia Phillies. 2001, even though we lost, was a hell of a ride for the Philadelphia 76ers. Yes. So let's continue, right? Let's get those juices going. I want to see another step over. I don't care who does it, right? I want to know. I want more memories. I want more because we're going to erase that Toronto memory out of our brains come this year, man. 100%. 100%. Al, any final words, final thoughts?
Dude, I just can't wait. I can't wait. We've been how long we've been talking about getting to this point? We knew the regular season.
Yup. Al's been waiting really long. Yeah.
Now is when it counts. Let's go. And I can't wait to hear the crowd going crazy in the big house. They're going to be going nuts. Now, I don't know. Are we getting full? Or are we getting quarter? Or are we getting half? What did you hear about
I think I read it'll go up to 50%. I think
Okay.
that's the highest we'll get is 50% capacity, which is
Our 50
tell you
is
what.
not everybody else's 50 though. Our 50 is going to sound like full. So
Yeah.
we're good.
I agree. Andre, final thoughts?
Hey, the number one seed. That's it. Listen, do what the number one seed is supposed to do. This isn't college. This is the NBA. This ain't the Sweet 16, bro. It's the NBA. Finals or bust. Finals or bust. It's really, look, we didn't get this far just to come this far. Okay? It's finals or bust.
I
Broad
agree.
Street.
Pushing all the chips in. All the
Push them
chips
all
in.
Here they come. Here they
Push them all
come.
in. Like I said, we have Farzetta on, and I said, Mark, I'm tired of waiting. I'm done now. Right? I waited. I try to be good. You guys talked me off the ledge a couple times. I'm all in right now. I pushed all my chips in. I'm in. Let's roll. Let's go on Broad Street. Let's have some fun. We'll finally get out of this pandemic. We'll finally get some normalcy. And what a way to get back to normalcy than to be lifting a trophy on Broad Street, man. I'll tell you what. Let's go have some fun and let's win this thing once and for all. So for everybody tuning in, we thank you again. Half Court Heat, check us out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Please help us out as we help you. We give you the content. You keep coming back. We love the audience. We engage. We talk. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch you next Sunday.